Good evening, everyone. How are we doing? I've had my haircut. I've had a wee bit of a shave. Some people are actually speculating I may have bathed. Thanks a lot for joining me, guys. I've also got a new camera, a new kind of light and stuff like that. Should be a good one tonight, guys. I'll wait for you all to come in as you arrive. We're going to do a Q&A on the channel. Don't know how long this is going to last. If you're watching this after the fact, you'll know exactly how long it lasts. I hope you enjoy. If you do like the content at any stage, whether it be any of the answers or the questions, then smash that like button. Helps other people who may like it find it also. And if you do like the content and you find yourself watching more than one of these videos every now and again, subscribe to the channel. It means a lot. Actually, it goes a long way to supporting me personally, and you'll be my friend forever. Magic. I've got a few of the guys in already. Usual suspects. Alex Dobbins, good evening. Good to see you. And Mikey Boy as well. Mikey Bass. Number 3, I'm going to guess, is the one and only non-stick llama. Good evening. Love it, Alex. Magic. While we're waiting for questions to come out, I'll just kind of dive about a little bit. It's a really big day on the platform. We get Galatasaray, much anticipated. Josh is good. Josh is here. Good to see you, my man. Looking a bit pale. Do you think so? I can turn it up and down and stuff, so I'll maybe mess about with that just to see how it all kind of looks. But it's like a camera that has a light on it, and I thought, oh, that's kind of 2 birds with 1 stone. I think I've made the same mistake again. So I've turned off some of the little lights that I have. I'll leave it at that. It's the kind of minimal one. We'll see how it goes. I've got a pal that comes in and slags me, so if it doesn't slag me, then I know it's doing okay. But would you cry it? So I thought I'd be a 2 for 1, so we'll see how that pans out. But the much anticipated arrival today of Galatasaray happened. Now, there's a few cards in that team that I'm really excited about. If you've been on my channel for a while, then you will know it is all about Falcao. It is all about El Tigre. Yeah, he gets injured a lot. Yeah, he's like 34 or something, but it's still Falcao. I've got to get one now. I wasn't going to be chasing the 1 of 100. By the way, talking of 1 of 100s, the price that Javi Simmons and Yunus Musa went for last night was mind-blowing. I thought I was going to get my hands on Yunus Musa 1 of 100. I was quite willing to pay, pretty much about an ETH for him. I was involved in the bidding. But then, wow, ended up at 3 ETH if you're not aware, and Javi Simmons ended up just below that. I think it was maybe 2.8 or something like that. And that was for the 1 of 100 rare. That's not for a super rare or the unique, of course. And it's mainly because, and this might be something we'll come to as part of the questions or whatever, but it being the 1 of 100 for those guys, and it is clearly undisputed. There's no 2 ways about it. That will forever be classed as their rookie card, which from the collector card standpoint is like a hallmark of value. So it's not a big surprise that those cards went for that price. But when you're involved in the bid and you hope to win one, then that's a wee bit gutting. But hey ho. So it's good to see. So hopefully I'll pick up some of those guys, but it won't be the 1s of 100s. I'm definitely interested in Yunus Musa, and as I was just talking about, Radamel Falcao. So it's all in bundles with Galatasaray. I think that might have been part of the delay. I think part of the delay that they've done, it might have been something to do with the bundle allocation. Maybe they decided at the last minute they were doing bundles rather than singles, or maybe vice versa. They decided singles wasn't possible, or it came to light, that kind of thing. But they're in bundles, and normally the bundle teams, it has been like Real Madrid, it's been Liverpool, Lazio, it's been the bigger kind of clubs. The Galatasaray are a huge club, don't get me wrong, but in terms of the world of football financially, they're not obviously in the same realms as Real Madrid and Liverpool. So it's a little bit stifling to see them as a bundle, but it just means you've got to be even more careful with the purchases you make, the prices you go in at, being mindful of what's in the bundle. One thing I've caught quite quickly with the Galatasaray allocation that we've got so far is the bundles are very limited in variety. I remember when Liverpool in particular, but Liverpool and Real Madrid came on, there was a lot of different combinations of the packs, in terms of the bundles, so what I did with both of them is I thought, right, who are the 3 or 4 players I would really, really, really want, and I'd look for bundles with them, and of course everyone else has done the same thing, and they don't come as cheap as you would hope, but I don't really have the ability to do that now. So yeah, I would love a Falcao, I would love a Yedlin, I would also love Sriracha, and there might be somebody, there's guys like Babel, and there's a few other guys that are quite handy. Arda Turan, I would love to get an Arda Turan as well. But finding a pack that is going to have just all those ones in it is going to be nigh on impossible. So we're maybe relying on a little bit of secondary market activity, and I think none of them went secondary market yet, but I can kind of see the prices that they've went for. So the most expensive one would have been the 1 of 100 and it went for 0.156 of an ETH as an average between the 5 cards in the pack. So I know we've got a mental mathematician in the house. I've seen Stuart in the comments. If he wants to do 5 times 0.156, that would be lovely. So Stuart, you are here. Good to see you, my man. Willie Boy is here. 3D Prints, good to see him. John, good to see you, my man. I'm on the big screen, so probably won't see me in the comments much. Good stuff, that's fine. You can tell me how the lighting's going then, John, since I'm on the big screen there. Question, there we go. Right, let's hear it. So, seems like a reward refresh is coming very soon. I definitely agree. Have you had to think about it? What's both fair for all users? And so, what I think, there's a massive restructure to come for the rewards. It is very much anticipated, Alex, and I think I'll just pop this question up on screen just in case anyone wants to catch this afterwards. But what I think I think a couple of things. I think number one, they made a recent change in buffing the rewards, and what they did was they made sure that you had like next to no chance of picking up a dud card for a reward. So if you get a refer a friend bonus, if you win a tier 3 rare in Global All-Star D4, the lowest rank of the lowest run of the ladder, it is borderline impossible for you to get a card that will be like dead in the water, absolutely useless, because they always try and make sure that, especially with the FM bonuses, as far as I'm aware, that they have a bias on like recent activity, and it's to encourage new users to get on and be able to get armed up with cards quickly and get active quickly, which is a positive buff that we've all accepted. What that has created is this kind of unspoken kind of tier 4 level of cards that don't really come out as rewards, but they might get auctioned and you'll see them going for buttons, but you never see them come out as rewards. So I think there's quite an easy add-on there, and you can easily then throw that into Global D4 and extend the winning places up to something daft like 1,000 because of the amount of entries we're getting. And I think you can satisfy a lot of people quite quickly by just opening that up. The second thing I would kind of say to that is I think it kind of maybe would answer a different question from someone else, but I think probably the easiest way for them to redress the balance of things in terms of rewards versus competition and entrance is to probably think about adding a Division 5 and maybe try again and maybe make that a bit more skewed towards newer users, but maybe you have to have in there, it's mandatory. Like you get mandatory, for uniques higher up and super rares, that kind of thing. So maybe as a mandatory, you have to have a common. And again, I think that makes it more accessible to newer people as well. And when you are going to be putting cards with a common from somebody like me, I wouldn't be putting my best cards there, but I would definitely put ones that would compete. And again, that just kind of swings the door open, because sometimes like we can get carried away with the competition numbers and see like, oh, there's like 3,000 people in Global All-Star D4. But when you think probably the original, I say the original loosely, right? But if you think about the oldest 1,000 entries there in terms of the managers, the users, me, and who, or I don't even know if I'd be in that category, their team is not going to be as geared towards that D4 situation as yours is. If you're 2 weeks in the door, it's your life right now in terms of your SoRare career. Everything's about getting that Global D4. Whereas guys that are up in D1 levels and all that kind of thing, guys, even in, I'd probably say I'm quite comfortable between D4 and D3, but the Global All-Star D4 isn't where I would put my biggest cards, whereas when you're new and you're getting your first bunch of cards, it's probably your kind of main focus, if that makes sense. So yeah, that answers that question, I think, or hope. Whatever, I'll just see where I've left you, Alex. Brilliant. I hope that answers that. Hey guys, evening. Dennis, good to see you, mate. 0.78, Mikey boy. So that's the 100 bundle was for Falcao. That had guys in like Babel and Donk, and I had somebody else, maybe Figuli. So that's maybe not too bad for all there. One of 100s. If you get that for one of them, then you're up, I suppose. And then 0.42. Yeah, that went really cheap, eh? Arthur, you got a bargain. I wish I was involved in that. Because he's went a bit more expensive the next couple of times. Wow, that's been a good one. It's had been probably about 250 quid for, again, they've probably been about the same pack because there's not a lot of variety on the variation of the cards in the packs at the moment. So I'm in no real rush to get a Galatasaray pack. I'm definitely wanting for one. What it also does as well is it means actually winning them as a reward becomes even more sweeter. Like I got a Weston McKennie as a reward, and wow, that was sweet on a lot of different levels. Here's Josh. So presuming the reward structure doesn't change drastically, due to the amount of influx in new players in the D4s, might it be worth trying to enter the D3s instead if you can pick up some cheap SRs? Now, Josh, that is a great angle of approach, and I actually just re-recorded a little video for the new onboarding process, because it's really slick and it's really easy, right? But what you find when you go through that is the game is very much geared up to getting you, like I was just kind of said with the last answer, getting you armed up and being able to have fun and compete and then interact and participate, as quickly as possible. And if you're feeling like that is a possibility, that is great for the natural evolution of the game. No matter what your budget is and how long you've been here, different people will achieve different things at different times across all of life. It just does, So when you get to that stage, that's really reassuring to hear that as a question, number one. And number two, the answer is most certainly yes. If you aren't familiar, most of you probably are, but a lot of my first super rares were very cheap, very much under the radar. I've still got some of them. I think I sold a super rare Amiri that I picked up for a quarter of a coin, maybe 0.4 of a coin, back when Ether was about a third of the price of what it is now. And I managed to sell that for really good money. I've still got Kieran Trippier that I picked up for buttons. It was like a 4 a.m. Auction, and at that point the user base was probably, I don't know, about a third of what it is now. It's much easier to do those things at night time. Get up for a late auction. Even the Ashraf Hakimi, I would definitely say, even at the time, that was a very cheap purchase for a super rare. The Titan, I got him for 0.4 ages ago. I think it cost me about £100, £150. And the Medina, I kind of got that in a good trade. There's the Trippier there, £45. So I'm quite fortunate with the caliber of cheap super rares that I've been able to get, but it's everyone's first step. I've also got a super rare Ismail Azawi, who I bought in recent times, that I got for £124, and he has been quite valuable to own. I don't think he's really been part of any winning lineups yet, but as you can even see, you can see clearly how much I paid for him and when and everything. If you look at his scores, he's got 2 greens there, 69 and 71. Plays pretty much every game, doesn't always get 90 minutes. Really needs a goal contribution to be useful, but he's 22 and he can do that. So I've said this before in videos, if you are feeling like D3 is the next step for you, and that's your best way out of the crowded situation at D4, then definitely you should be researching and making moves towards that. Eredivisie, and I'll be doing a massive video on this, but Eredivisie is a massive, I've already kind of done a series on Eredivisie, but I don't want to give the game away too much, but I've got some big stuff coming down. But the super rares you're going to get in the Eredivisie are going to be extra sweet. They're going to be extra sweet in times to come. Stay tuned. I'll kind of go into that in more detail. But yeah, making that move up to D3 with cheap SRs and even just mega rares, because I've finished Asia D4 7th with all rares. I won one of the D3s with one super rare, or I won it with a DNP or something like that one time. So if you get the right players and the right scores and the right circumstances, luck can go your way. Hendo is in the house. Good to see you, Hendo. So is K Brown, my man. Sebo Slice, I thought it was Kimbo Slice, I don't know why. Evening, buddy. Kyle, my man. My horse trader, how are you? Jamie Drew, how's it going, mate? Love that Celtic top. It's always nice. I know. I need to kind of recenter it on the wall outside because it's not centered to the actual angle of the camera and everything. Here's another question here from Mikey Boy. Before I hit Mikey's question, I'm going to have a wee drink of Bayern Brew. Rehydrate ever so slightly. Mikey Boy asks, how do you see the new scarcity affecting value of mid to lower end rares? Thinking in relation to premium rares being better utility wise and value wise in the lower SRs. Now, that is a really difficult question to answer because, all right, okay, let's assume, right, the new scarcity is aimed at a really low budget customer. Let's say that's who they're looking to attract, low budget customer. For any reason, maybe they're just want to dip their toe in the water, or they don't really spend money on games. Like a really easy rite to passage for me on SoRare was, of course, Football Index, but above that, FIFA Ultimate Team. I used to spend crazy money on that, and Football Index actually helped me in a weird way get some of that money out of the Ultimate Team, and it's something that was, anyway, it doesn't matter. But having that experience means I can play a game like this, and I can quite comfortably move around the sort of money that I have for it because it's kind of in my lifestyle. But there's a lot of people out there that don't spend money on computer games, which is basically what this is for all intents and purposes. So some of those people want a free-to-play game. Some of those people want minimal outlay. So you need to cater for everyone. So let's establish that the new scarcity is going to be aimed at people who just don't want to spend more than 100 quid or something like that to get themselves going, or 50 quid, right? So that means those cards are going to be so weak by comparison to a rare, because if let's what was the most recent rare that I bought? I think it might have been a Goalkeeper, right? So let's even think about the goalkeepers. The most recent where I got was a Katarski. Okay, so I picked up this Katarski for 117 quid or something like that. Young training goalkeeper, right? If they were to bring out another really, really poor version of him, he's not going to be worth a lot of money, right? Because he is a training goalkeeper. He's not like an amazing player. So would it affect his value to me? It wouldn't really change anything because he's still like a young goalkeeper who's still powered up in the exact same way. And as long as I'm not losing anything from D4 upwards in terms of his potential use to me, then I don't see him losing any value. What people are actually worried about is they lose demand because the demand will then go to the cheaper player. Now, it is all relative. So if you want to, let's say we've got in that D4 the now 3,000 entrants. If 2,000 of them are at their limit anyway, and they can't spend any more money, they don't want to spend any more money, they're kind of at their limits in terms of what they're doing with the game, then you need to make sure those people stay engaged, you know. So they're not going to stay engaged at D4 level, not winning anything for too long. Those people switch off and they leave. And for the game as a whole, that's not good. You know, you want people to stay engaged. You want people to stay involved and feel like they can do something to participate. So those cards are going to allow that. They're not going to change anything, I think, in the landscape that we have at the moment. It will interact. It will have an effect, of course, but I don't think that it's going to be as seismic a change as possible in the longer term. In the shorter term, depending on, and this is what we don't know, what makes the question really difficult to answer, is we don't really know the parameters in terms of volume and, you know, supply. So in the short term, where the customer base is, let's say it's, you know, I've seen there was 17,000 people in the rookie league this week. So let's say we've got 20,000 managers, right? If oh Jesus, I just lost the point because I was just thinking about that. I've seen it 17,000. It pure blew my mind earlier on. But if there's 20,000 people all in, yeah, and you're going to lose 50% of them to this new scarcity, then yeah, that is going to hurt card values and the secondary marketplace really hard, really quickly. But what it's also going to affect is the primary auctions, and SoRare are not incentivized to harm any of those dynamics or any of those market forces that I was just describing. So I trust them with they're hiring a game economics guy, they've hired them or whatever, and I know from speaking to them that they're modeling things out. This is the kind of language they're using. And I'm fully confident that when they deploy it, I don't really think it's going to be that imminent, the new scarcity, if I'm quite honest. I think a lot of people that are listening to this and talking to me are from Planet Index, where you expect things to happen in 2 months. I don't think we're really, because this is a game altering changes. I don't think they happen in a month or two. I think these are, it might even be the end of the, you know, maybe the back end of the summer, might be in time for the Euros, might be the back end of the Euros. It really depends on the level of detail, the logistics, how difficult the hurdles are to overcome. But I think a lot of us are from Planet Index. We're kind of conditioned to think everything can be done in 3 or 4 weeks. But with something like this, it's not something you do in 3 or 4 weeks. That's just not good business. They have been working on it for a while, and I expect them to continue working on it until they're completely satisfied that they're doing the right thing for all involved, themselves included. Their primary concerns are also your primary concerns, and you need to remember that, you know. Hope that answers the question, Mikey boy. And also what you're kind of saying to lower end SRs, I think that's kind of copy and paste from the rares. I think it will all stay relative, and most people are worried about in terms of the market changes is you basically know short term you're going to lose a customer pool to a cheaper price brand, you know, and that's just economics, and that's just life, you know. Not everyone buys a Rolex, not everyone buys a Ferrari, not everyone owns their own home. Not everyone buys toys and puts them on a shelf, you know. Everyone's different. Everyone has, you know, it's just life. It's the real world we live in, guys. Who would you buy if Celtic was in SoRare? Very first player I would buy. Either are all tied, so I don't know. I'll give you one as an answer, and I'll keep the other two for other questions. The one player, the obvious one is Edward. You'd have to buy Edward. He'd have to be the one you buy because you know he's going to get sold rapid. Like, he does not stay past the summer. Don't care what anyone says. He is going in the summer. It'll be big money. I think it'll be 20 million plus. I hope it's 20 million plus anyway, for the club's sake, to try and give us something to look forward to in terms of a transfer kitty. And he'll be going to a big team. You know, Moussa Dembele left us and went to Lyon. Denier left us and went on. I know he was a bit of a longer check around, and he was a lone player, in fact. Who was our boy? Van Dijk, and you know, Van Dijk went to Southampton. Actually, might not be a big club Edward goes to. You know that. Stuart Armstrong went to Southampton as well. They're quite a big club, actually, Southampton, when I think about it. Stuart Armstrong went there, they must be big. But anyway, Edward, France under 21 international, I'd expect it to be a biggish team. Might even be Lyon. If Depay goes to PSG, I read that rumour the other day, that blew my mind. Mikey Boys getting the leaks done. Dom is in the house. Dom, good to see you. Stefan, my man, is here. Any more questions, guys? I'm sure there'll be more. I'm catching up with. The comments are ferocious. Yang Wan, my contest winner. He picked up the Eric Ramirez. Ben, how are you doing? Any chance we see a new Premier League team? I think we're going to get Man City next season. That is just pure speculation and conjecture. I'm not the only person to say that. I'm definitely not the first person to say that. Because it's kind of been semi-revealed that they can't have more than one Premier League club in a season up until Panini's licensing agreement expires. I think it's summer 2022. So we had Liverpool this year, they had West Ham the previous 2 seasons, and the kind of noises and sounds that the company makes, I would expect it to be the Premier League champions. That looks to be Manchester City. So I think we will get Manchester City next season. I don't think we'll get another club before then. Stuart's dropping one on us. Quinny, do you think it would be helpful if SoRare allowed us to see the cumulative market value of the whole platform? I guess it would, yeah. I guess it would. Do you believe that would be useful? And if so, why? Is probably, I'd throw that back to you. Yeah, I think that would be helpful. Yeah, sure. Evening, popping in to say hello. Evan, good to see you, my man. And made up for the channel is really starting to grow. Thank you very much. Going to watch this while I'm protected and work well from tomorrow. Good man. Lewis Gallagher. I saw some stuff. So what you need to watch out for, Lewis, is there's a lot of graphs that go around, and we'll just have a look at them now. On SoRare data. So you go on to soraredata.com and you see this tab down here at the left, charts. You click on that and it'll tell you basically anything you want to know. Stuart, this might answer the thing that you want to know. I don't know. But, you know, it's got a variety of charts on different statistics in terms of pricing for things, averages, and this is what we see. So this is the most common graph you're probably going to come across when anyone's ever citing to you user numbers or whatever, okay? So we have right at the tippy top, let me see, we have people that own 1 card or more as of the 21st of March, which I believe was yesterday, is basically 11,500. Okay, so most people would probably cite that to you as a user base, you know, kind of number. I recorded the video earlier today, as I mentioned before, and I know that the Rookie League this week had like 17,500 in it. So in terms of the user base number, it's a really hard one to gauge. I also know on top of all of these figures that we're talking about, there will be there is accounts that don't ever own, that just don't own any more than like 3 cards. You know, they came in, they bought 3 Mbappes, or they came in, bought an Mbappe and a Felix and a Neymar or whatever, and then they just don't come back. They just don't play the game. They're collecting cards and that's all they're doing. So sometimes these numbers, it will give you a kind of complete picture, but it doesn't always allow you to kind of, it's not terribly accurate for trying to gauge active users and that kind of thing as well, because I could own 2 cards forever and I'll always be in that secondary tier, you know. So but that's why it's good to see on the graph, because you see the progression of it going up and up and up and up, and you see the kind of the active users rising to the higher numbers. And for me, when you start seeing the higher user counts at really 10 and more, 5 and more is probably, yeah, once you get to 5 and more, you know the person's got their free rare, they're going to be fairly engaged with the game. It's probably a good idea. 6,000, what was the number you quoted? 8. So it's quite, you know, in terms of, it's hard to gauge where it's at in that sense. What do I think is it going to take to onboard, you know, an extra 10, 50, 100,000 users? I think maybe some form of advertising. You know, you could do something, you know, they don't, you know, they could do something, you know, and then they might start onboarding more customers. Saying what you want, saying what you want people to be wanting to stay engaged. Yeah, I want people to be winning. Yeah, definitely. But it's all about proportionately. You know, I can play a computer game, and you know, say I play 10 games, and I lose 4 of them, and I win 6. I've had fun for 10 games. You know, you don't win games all the time, but you do. If I played it and I lost 10 out of 10, I'm probably not going to turn it on again. You know, you just disengage. You know, and it is a game primarily, so there has to be that element of reward available to everyone, or it's non-accessible, and it doesn't work. So at some point, these changes do have to happen. What we're all kind of on our tiptoes about and eager to kind of see how it all pans out is just we don't want them to accelerate too quickly ahead of what we've got in case it kind of brings the ground from under us. That's what we're all worried about. They will also be worried about that, I'm sure. What sort of percentage do you think is fair to have as winners? Now, I enjoyed playing the game very much when it was like 20% chance because I've been here that long. So that was good. I think 10 to 15% gets everyone excited, you know, because I'm not always putting a team out thinking I am going to podium, but I can put a team together and think, do you know what? If I get top 12%, I'm going to get a tier 2 under 23, or you know, if it's a D3, if I get top 10%, I'll get that, you know. So I think, you know, top 10 to 15%, I think is definitely engaging enough. So it has that right amount of, they're not just dished out to everyone in terms of achievement side of things, and it doesn't devalue them for equally the same reason. But yeah, so I think 10 to 15% is decent, you know, especially for the more dominant, you know, the more accessible leagues anyway, you know. Quinny, when's the first Barcelonans unique coming? I need to do something. I need to do a Barcelona, something that would be class, wouldn't it? Barcelona, man, they can't be too far away. I think Fenerbahce, they exploded on Twitter when they launched Galatasaray. I've definitely seen that. That doesn't go unnoticed. I don't think Real Madrid really got the same, even from us. I think, you know, because I think we just had PSG and Bayern all around the same kind of time, and I don't think Real Madrid really got the, whoa, Real Madrid has just joined the platform that Bayern and Liverpool got as well. So I don't know if Barca have really kind of stepped up, but also we've got PK in the camp and we've got Griezmann in the camp, so they should be doing some work behind closed doors. Barcelona shouldn't be too far away. At worst, 1 in 10, 1 in 20. So 1 in 10 would be 10%. 1 in 20, yeah, 5. Yeah, well, if you're going to be 1 in 20, then you're going to be getting some decent-ish, you know what I mean? But it's just base prizes. 1 in 10 definitely works. What do you think? Should we take a spontaneous look at SoRare Buzz? It's up to you, Dom. We've got probably about an hour, half an hour. I'm going to be joining John on Clubhouse after this. So if you want, we could do that, but if you want, we could do it Thursday. It's entirely up to you, Dom. I'd love to have it Thursday. Actually, be prepared because, guys, I've been on the beta for SoRare Buzz, as Dom's kind of let the cat out of the bag with. It is shit hot. Wait till you see it. Stuart's back. Oh, would be great to see the growth of the game. Yeah, okay, cool. I agree. New player here. Once you have a D4 global team, where would you target next? So if you've got a D4 global team, what happened with me? I'll jump back onto my gallery and I'm going to jump to the back of it. So what happened with me when I very first came on, I just knew that I could buy players from anywhere and eventually I would end up with a global lineup. Okay, that sounds like an obvious statement, I know. But what I also then did was, or what I had in mind was, I'll just kind of let that naturally progress out. And then what I'll do is I'll take a step back and look, once I'm comfortable in that position, of where I'm strongest already, and then look to just put in a couple of pieces around that. Now, bearing in mind, when I started on the platform, there was just like global, and I think there was global and under 23, and I think that might have been it. I think that was it, by the way. So I think it was just go for global D4, and if you can get some under 23s, then you've got that to go for as well. Obviously, since which time the platform has grown exponentially, and we've got the Americas region opening up, the Japanese, and the also the K League was here before I was, and as well as much more European teams, Inter Milan, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich. We've named a lot of them already. But I ended up picking up these were my first 3 cards. I think I had, they were my first 3 cards: Larson, Gabriel, and Mancini. All 3 of them have turned out to be ballers because I can predict the future. Sometimes, sure, it does happen. So they've all been mainstays and absolute ballers, and I would never sell them. And then after that, I've got my Kang, my Torres, my Gomares, and then I got my Mbemba. That was my free card. So by that point, and that was and then after that, the Americas must have came out. So by that point, what I've managed to do is get myself a lot of midfield. Got my striker, and I've got my defender, and then I've got my free card. So I would then be taking a step back and looking at this. So I've got Gomares, I've got Mancini, I've got Gabriel, I've got Kang, and also Torres. So I've got 5 cards there going to Champion Europe if you're in this kind of position. So would I need a goalkeeper for that? Those are quite expensive. And then on the flip side of that, I would need probably another striker as backup because it's mainly and another defender because it's mainly midfielders. So then, does that become affordable to you? No, not really. Okay, by coincidence, all of them are under 23 also. So again, you've got that path to go down. So I would always, once you're comfortable in that D4 spot, really assess what is the safest path to trot in terms of the pieces you can get to complement other things you've got and get them working together as quickly as possible. That is also, to use a pure broadsheet paper word, fiscally responsible. You know, like you're not just going, right, okay, I'm going to put all my eggs in the champion basket. And then you're like, oh shit, I can't afford All Black or Navas. And I've bought all these champion players and oh crap. And then you're kind of deflated. You need to sell stuff you didn't. And then it's like, oh, what am I doing? And replaces all over the place. So maximize what you have, is what you already have, to the best of your ability, is my main advice, Sibo. The next stage of advice would be get a cheap super rare 2 and try and move up to D3 with it. But if you're not wanting to go up, you're wanting to go out, is my advice first. You know, going just straight up in terms of just climbing up with super rares and uniques, and that's fine if that's your budget. What most people do is they go out the way and fill out more teams in different regions at the same level, and then try and build from there. So what you're looking to do with all those D4 entries is get enough good rewards that they can aggregate together and get you a really good D3 eventually, you know, with some trading and the actual wins themselves. If all leagues were Opta available, which one would you like to see on the platform? From Mikey Boy. If all were available, I'm guessing that you mean that we don't have already. It'd have to be the SPL, of course. It would have to be the full Premier League. But to give you an answer that's not as ball basic as that, I would probably go. I'd probably go with Vietnam, if I'm honest, because the Vietnamese league. If you've never put a bet on the Vietnamese game, then you've never lived. Gamble responsibly. Take that with a pinch of salt. Do your own research. But the Vietnamese league is mental. If you go and look at the scores that are in that league, the Asia region would be pandemonium. There'd be guys in that league that would go for 10 grand, like a plumber or something. It'd be mental. Although I think there's a little bug. Okay, cool. Jonathan Rolfe, good to see you. Can you see the market on DAP Radar? I don't know what DAP Radar is, Jonathan. So if you want to say to Stuart what that is, and help him out, because it really seems him that wants to know that. Ewan, good to see my man. He's in the house. Ben, is it better to invest in European League players after the league ends in a few weeks? If history repeats itself, Ben, then yes, there will be a window of opportunity to get on players cheaper. That is 100% based on history repeating itself. It is almost impossible to say whether or not that will happen, because what we've got in this instance, so the history we're asking to repeat itself is when the MLS and the J League turned off, their prices like slashed and plummeted, and we've recently seen massive recoveries and new all-time highs for a lot of those cards. Would you expect the same downward turn to happen for the European players, with it now being, number one, a bigger marketplace, and number two, the European cards widely renowned and widely seen as the winners of the biggest prizes, and the biggest prizes themselves to be had? So I don't think they go. What you need to ask yourself is realistically, what discount do you find appealing, and waiting for that to show itself. And as soon as it does, if you're possible, if that happens, is take that and then dust it off the to-do list and move on to the next one. If you're not sure what that would be, then take a bit more time to think about it and think, right, okay, well, if I am going to wait for a discount to come in the off season, what do I see as appealing on today's price, and is it realistic or not? With, you also have to anticipate there's things that you cannot anticipate, number one, right? But number two, that the user base should continue to grow based on previous kind of trajectories and growth and whatever. There is also a few unknowns around ether and gas prices, that kind of thing. And there's also the things we spoke about earlier in the Q&A in terms of the new rewards and the divisions and that kind of thing. So it is a really hard one to answer. But I do think, especially the players that are not as like household names desirable, I think you'll find a more generous discount in the off season on some of them versus like a household name, you know. So guys like Memphis Depay, or I'm biased because I own him, of course, Neymar, Mbappe, Lewandowski, Kimmich, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Van Dijk, Salah, Mane. These guys, the discount on them is going to be few and far between. But you might get lucky with, you know, or you probably will get lucky with like your Fabinho or, you know, your Robertsons and, you know, those kind of players that are still, you know, big players obviously, but they're not the headline grabbers. IMO. Hey you, how's things going? Having a wee chat in here, messy plug. Yeah, okay, thanks. Looking forward to the Gamba games. Simple slice. You guys are just having a wee chat amongst you. I need an Asian player in MLS forward to get myself up to the reward standards. I feel a day of research is coming. Yeah, definitely. I know. Ross. I kind of said both. I said Barcelona was had the laugh for that. And then I thought maybe you're trying to do both as well. When I'm buying a unique. Oh Jesus, I don't know. I don't know when I'm buying a unique. Any tips for using the international break to optimize your gallery for the next big stack of games? Sure. So you're full of questions tonight. So with the with the international break we've got coming up, guys, I know from what my experience in the past is when we get to the international break, maybe not tonight, because there's actually quite a lot going on with the stream and the clubhouse stuff, and then I'll get tons of videos coming out this week. Me and Dom might be getting together on Thursday. We might do something as well. A lot of stuff going on. But when the international football kind of drips through, you will probably find yourself bored, and you'll probably find yourself on the market a lot. Now, what I would say is, number one, it's a really good time to be trading because there will be a lot of people out there taking stock of their gallery and setting themselves up for the next 3 months, the next 6 months potentially as well. So it's a very good time to be trading. So if there is anything that you've been wanting to go out and get, equally if there's been anything you've wanted to kind of trade with or whatever, I would definitely make sure you're on the Discord channel. I would definitely make sure you're negotiating with managers at every opportunity. If there's anything that you're looking to go and get, or equally if there's anything you're wanting to maximize on the back end, you're going to sell it or trade it against something. Because international break's always good. Because I know myself, like when the game weeks are on, like I can't be gassed. If I've got the players, I'm kind of happy. I can wait till tomorrow for some things, but there's a lot of people that, you know, when you're trading, you want the response, you want the reaction. So I would definitely advise it's a good time for people to be doing that. And if you know, equally, if you're not on the Discord, you're crazy. Get on the Discord. You just need to go to SoRare's. It's on the website everywhere. It's on their Twitter. Just click on it. If you've never been on Discord, it's just like sign in for your basic email and password. That's it. And it's just like a private WhatsApp, and there's channels, and it's really easy to use. And you can directly chat with people, and if there's negotiations to be had, they will be had. Okay, Dommy Boy is up for Thursday. Lovely jubbly. Non-stick llama. Time do you call this? What time do you call this? How many cards do you like to have in a squad focused around one particular tournament? So that's a great question. Now, I'd probably say for each position, I'm really midfield generous, right? And that's a term that I just made up on the spot. But I'm very midfield generous, right? So I have, let's see, have a look, midfielders, I've got 54, right? So I kind of, when I build that skeleton of how many cards should I have for my peace of mind that I'm going to be covered for a different division or different divisions or whatever, I'm going to assume that I'm always playing 2 midfielders because I'm quite light in forwards, except for super rare forwards. I seem to have a lot of them for some reason. So I always assume that I'm going to have 2 midfielders. So if I've got the goalkeeper, I'll go with 2 goalkeepers. I'll go with 2 defenders. I'll try and get 4 midfielders and 2 strikers. Once I'm at that stage, I feel really comfortable. I feel really comfortable putting a team out pretty much every game week. Now, the 2 goalkeepers for me is the biggest ask of that equation, but it can be a common goalkeeper, of course. I've spent a lot of time with my common Paul Lopez, pulling out rewards in different various stages of the game and different evolutions of it. So that can be done, and even if it is just trapping the basic ETH with your commons as well. But yeah, 2 for each position is ideal. But again, you might be a bit more. You might have a bit more in defense. Defenders are a little bit cheaper, but I think with midfielders you can get a bargain a bit easier because midfielders can be so flaky. You're a really good, really talented midfielder could have like 2 or 3 bad games where they even get booked like 2 or 3 matches in a row, and it will nerf their scores and the form might be bad. So I think sometimes midfield, probably why I like midfield a lot, is because they can also get goals, they can also get the assist, and quickly form can change, and the outlook of the perspective of a card can quickly change. So I'm really all about midfield. I think if you're going to double up on strikers in terms of your squad parameter when you're kind of doing this, K Brown, if you're going to double up on strikers, I think that's quite gambly because strikers, no striker other than Messi and Ronaldo for the last like 100 years of football scores the amount of goals, or Lewandowski included in that probably at this stage, where it's like a goal a game. For the whole of mankind history, football, it's been like 20 goals a season has been notable. It's like, wow, that was a really good year for that guy. So you have to bear that in mind. Strikers, really good strikers will get 20 goals a season. They're not going to score every game. Really good ones will get maybe 15 and they'll get 10 assists. That can be quite useful. There's different various stages of it. But my point being, double up on strikers, you're asking for a lot of things to go right. Whereas midfielders and defenders as well, then I think there's safer bets to double up on when you're thinking about your overall team skeleton. Because if it is a bare game week and there's not a lot of competition out there in terms of other managers competing, sometimes having those safer options that is double up in defence and they just bat in easy 65s or whatever will actually beat other players where you're expecting the big players to show up and hit a big score, but one gets sent off or it makes an error for a goal, and the steady eddies can do really well for you in those kind of situations where that overall squad picture is going to actually pay off for you at some stage. Bit of a long answer, but I hope it was good. Sibo Slices back with us again. I bought a JK League team without a keeper. Yeah, okay. Keeper prices MLS. So, sorry, you bought an Asian lineup without and goalkeeper. I'm guessing that's without a goalkeeper. And an MLS team with a keeper. So I'm thinking to play my strongest in Div 4 in either America or Asia. Yeah, so I can see exactly. Yeah, okay, I'm with you now. So I would. Now, the actual 100% best thing for you to do is actually assess that every single game week right before the deadline. Okay, and what I mean by that is if you only have one goalkeeper, but you have the ability to potentially have 3 different lineups out across 3 different divisions, then you should have basically all 3 of them in your mind. You know what they are, ready to go, and you should be waiting till the last minute and really looking, where is my best chances of winning? You can see how many people have entered, and I'm talking about, you can do this 5 minutes, 1 minute if you're that nerves, you've got nerves of steel, You can see what the payouts are, you can see what the places are, you can determine your own likelihood with the team that you have for that league and then deploy appropriately. It is nice, and human beings like to have things like determined, like, and I'm bad for this, right? Where this is for that and that is for that kind of thing. But in that situation, if you don't get another goalkeeper, and that's fine, then you really have to do that every game week, in my opinion. Now, if you want to be a bit more passive, then D4 global, you don't even need to think, you can put a team out for that. Then cool. If that's why you've built the gallery and that's the kind of angle you went with so far, then brilliant. But the fact that you can go out into other divisions, if I was you in that situation with the goalkeepers, doesn't change. I would be waiting right until kickoff and working out, doing the maths before David Peters gets the little spreadsheet out and tells you what it is. Work it out beforehand. So that's the God's honest answer for that. So Dapper lists sales daily, monthly, etc. All that thing, okay. And value for all NFT platforms, including SoRare plus DeFi projects. So that's it there. Dap Radar from Jonathan Rolfe. Good shout. Owen Davis, I got a Leonard Daniels from a referral award. He only has a few cards in circulation. Do you think it's better to sell or keep? Now, to give you a real honest answer to that, I'm going to need to have a look at our man here. So what's his name? Leonard. Oh, I think I've seen this guy recently. I don't know why. Leonard. That's in. There is only one Leonard in the platform. No, I've not seen this guy before. RKC Warwick goes for an okay amount. He's only had 2 sales. There isn't too much of him. He's a solid card. The main thing you've got to worry about, and we'll check on the now, is Warwick. I can't remember. It's been a week since I've looked at Eredivisie, and I've not really correlated the last game week's results in my mind to the knock-on effect of the table, because I'm not Rain Man. So I can't remember exactly where Warwick are and what their situation is. I think they're either... That's Mullenstein's team. I think they're on an upward trajectory. I don't think they're getting relegated, if memory serves me right. That's mainly Mullenstein's team. I think they've been doing well. I think they've been getting some okay results, but I can't remember exactly the last game. I'm just waiting for this to catch up. Wow, yeah, they're kind of getting, the form's been decent. They've lost 2 of the last 3 games, but I think prior to that they were in a slightly better form, but they've recovered. They've got points ahead of the relegation zone, so I think they could be. Let's check form over the last 10 games. Let's see where Warwick are. Warwick are 10th in the league, right? So I don't think they're going to get relegated. I think they will save. I think they will get saved, okay, based on that evidence, okay? How much I know about the Dutch league, you've just seen on screen, okay? I'm not pretending to know more than I do. But I would say they're quite safe to be here next season. A player like this is always going to be valuable to you in Global All-Star D4. Now, you might get what will happen is you should at some stage get players that are potentially better than this guy, and that's when you've been potentially thinking about selling or whatever. The flip side to the coin that you're really asking me here, right, is it better to have 1.47 than now or Leonard Daniels? Now, it really depends on your strength going from game week to game week. Right now, what I would be doing if I was you is I'd be putting out my best team possible, and I'd be if you don't really want this guy, you shouldn't have him. Really, rewards. I would like I like cards as rewards that are quirky, that are mine. I got an Mbemba. It really doesn't matter what my referral reward would be that I got for hitting the link that Hybe gave me. I would have always kept the reward because it was my reward. So I do feel awkward saying that you should probably sell that, because I think the value at 1.47 is good for what this guy's form is. But is he under 23? I think he is, isn't he? It says 22 there. I always forget if that's a shirt number of the age, because it does that on SoRare data. I always work it about, but I can just click on him in this and check. But I think he's under 23, and if he is under 23, especially under 23 next season, then I don't really see the rush. But I can see the temptation. It's really a personal decision. It really depends on your attachment to inanimate things. I've got quite a strong one too. That's just me. So where is he? He's a defender, isn't he? Daniel's there. He's there. No, he's a forward. Oh, he's a forward. Oh, mate, yeah, I'd be keeping that. A forward under 23 plays all the time. Yeah, I'd be keeping that. That's going to be useful to you for a while. Yeah, 2 goals in 26 isn't great, but he's playing 26 games. There's a reason for that. I can tell you that before I even look at his stats. If you look at his stats, you will see something positive about this guy's play. He's playing all the time up front with only getting 2 goals, and these will be the 2 goals here. If he scores, he's getting involved. He's getting 54s without a goal contribution. He's a hard-working forward, getting involved in tackles. And I can tell you that without even zooming into the real-world stats, because that's just how this matrix is built. I'd be keeping that, man. I really would. Especially if you can go check his date of birth, or maybe can I see it here for you? Oh, he's going to be 23. Yeah, you'll get him you'll get him under 23 for another season. So you've got the rest of this season, and you've got all next season. I'd be keeping that. But this is it's personal. Night. Sorry, lads, for being late. Affix, what time do you call this? How can you find people on Discord? I know their names. I'm not really good with using Discord on the computer, but I go into general chat, and then there's a magnifying glass for search. You click on that. Now, this is the pitfall that I make sometimes, is I'll just type into the search bar. Don't do that. Below, it will say like user, mentions, and other things. Click user, and then type in who you're looking for, and then like leave it a genuine 4 seconds. It takes a good second to search for everyone and find them, and it should bring up the result you're looking for, because everyone's in general chat because they get welcomed there. So that's how I do it. I don't know if that's the best way or not. Probably isn't. Kyle, what key sites do you use for team selection, i.e. to spot injury, suspensions? I get asked this question a lot. I kind of hover. Everything's in my phone primarily, so I kind of hover between a lot of apps more than anything. I've got the kind of trifecta that I think everyone has, and that is FootMob, SofaScore, and Flash Scores, and also WhoScored.com. I don't really use them for injuries, but because they're not really that good for that, especially on the app. But the other 3, what I like Flash Scores about, right, is this guy's recent run of form, of course, he's been playing, okay, but if we zoom out, see here, he doesn't play, it says on the bench, right? It'll also say if he's been injured or stuff, and it'll also say not in squad. Other websites like FootMob and SofaScore, I don't think they've got as much detail as that. SofaScore's got little icons, and if you're not familiar with them, you can easily get confused. And FootMob, if they weren't in the squad, the fixture's not even in the history. They don't even enter it. And if they're on the bench and they don't come on, I think it might even be the same, to be honest with you. And if they're out injured, no, I think it will be there, but it'll be with no minutes or whatever. But it doesn't tell you the difference between them being injured and them not being in the squad and that kind of thing. Whereas Flash Scores is really good for that. SofaScore is good once the information's been out there. Same with FootMob. They're both quite good for when the information's been out there and estimated time for return. The last minute warnings you've got to get from Twitter, which is the best place.
I'm new to the game. Should I wait till the season is over to start purchasing cards, as they won't drop in price over the summer when there are no games? Now, it really depends, Primal, what you're shopping for. We've kind of touched on that already with the European cards specifically. So your question kind of comes back to that. Basically, yes, there will be cards those opportunities will open up for. What I would suggest again is identify the cards you want, identify the price you're looking for, and when that happens, get it. And if it doesn't come anywhere near happening, reassess. Okay. And if it happens quite quickly, don't think twice. Just do it and get it and mark it off the to-do list, and then, you know, assess from there. But if you set out a price and a target, I would always recommend you follow through with plans you make in a good frame of mind. Opinions on the expiry of Ethereum options. I have no opinion on that, K Brown. I'm very sorry. That is not something I am qualified to comment on. What happens to your card if your team is relegated? They just don't have any football to play, Kyle. They are just dormant. It's basically the exact same. I have a player who's actually in really, really good form. It's probably going to be too hard to find on Flash Scores. I'd show you his form. But here, Martinez. It's not the Martinez you're thinking of. Look, yeah, not. Put Gonzalo in. That's weird. It's not midfielder. That's why. Dotty. Oh, there we go. Gonzalo Martinez. Okay, or Pity Martinez is more affectionately known. He, for all intents and purposes, is a relegated player. He plays in Saudi Arabia. It's not covered by Opta. You get that little red cross, and nothing happens until they come back into the real world of football. So if you're worried about a player getting relegated, I was quite fortunate. I think this guy had won me a prize or two before he fucked off to Saudi Arabia out of nowhere in the middle of the season, while doing kind of okay. You know, he won me some prizes and stuff at Atlanta. So it was a wee bit easier for me to go off. Well, I only paid 34 quid for it. I'll just sit on that. That's easy. If you're not really in that position of luxury, you need to assess how worried you are about that relegation, and, you know, maybe act appropriately depending on your worry, because it will just go dormant. And if that's not really a collector's item, something you're willing to hold forevermore, it might be something you want to trade out of. Daniels was one of the new releases last night. Oh, okay, cool. So, oh, nice, okay. Owen, cheers, good man. He uses us to top up the team. Yeah, Mikey, the live stream is probably the best place for that as well. If you want last minute injury news, we always do a live stream before the game weeks, and the comment section is full of useful information. Sports Gambler is great for injuries. Brilliant. I'll definitely make is that a Twitter account? Magic. I'll find out that. Magic. Oh, I've caught up with this. I've caught up with the chat, guys. Magic. I'm going to take another drink of juice. That was a lot of fun, guys. I don't feel I repeated myself too much, which I was getting. I've only done a Q&A a couple of times, and I'm always worried that I end up saying the same stuff over and over again, and it gets dull. Questions were fantastic, guys. Thanks very much. Is there any more? Any more for any more? I don't think there's anyone in this audience that would get that joke. It's a... Yeah. But yeah, deadly magic. So guys, I'm going to be jumping over with John. There's a clubhouse thing or something going on. I've never used it before. I've downloaded it. I've stole the kid's iPad. Gave him the Nintendo. Well, there you go, wee man. I'm taking this for the night. So if you're on that thing, come and join us. John will get the links. I've got no idea what's going on. I don't know if I'm just listening or if I'm speaking or what. I don't know what's going on. Oh, I've got one more question coming in. Ewan, who is my favourite Scottish card that I own? That is a great question, actually. How many Scottish cards do I own? Let's check. That's what we'll close out the stream with, guys. Okay, it's how many Scottish cards do I own, and which is my favourite? So where is nationality? That's what I want to find. Nationality. Scotland. I should have a few, because I've got a fair amount now. 15. I've got 15 Scottish players. Oh, it's because I've got so many Sam Nicholsons. Okay, so other than Sam Nicholson, I've got Andy Robertson, the main Scottish player in the game, stature-wise. George Johnson, there's only 3 of him. Get it up here. I've got one of them. I've got the last one ever. Jack Hendry, buzzing. Snoddy, Chris Cadden, Lewis Morgan, Johnny Russell, Danny Wilson, and of course the one and only Sam Nicholson.
I'd probably say my favourite one in this game is probably Johnny Russell, because he's or Lewis Morgan. Lewis Morgan. I'm going to say Lewis Morgan because that is 1 of 100 Lewis Morgan, as well as all the stuff he won me. And he just transferred out of Celtic. He was like, I paid £18 for him, and like he was good at Celtic. I liked Morgan, and as soon as he went there, I kind of know them unless a little bit. I thought he's going to score goals, and he did, which was great. Wish I had the balls to go a bit deeper and go and actually buy like 50 of them, or go and get super rares and all that stuff as well when they were mega cheap. But I did have a limited budget at that time. It was 7 months ago. And the Johnny Russell as well, 17 quid, absolute steal. Yeah, but I'm going to go with the Lewis Morgan because that's a 1 of 100. So that's my favourite Scottish card. Did he? Oh, brilliant. But thanks a lot, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. If you are new to the channel, subscribe, like, share, retweet, all that good stuff, guys. Stay out of trouble, and I will catch you on the next one. There's buckets of quality content coming.